Cheers, queers! What's on the big gay agenda today, Theora?
Today we are continuing our scene-by-scene breakdown of Pluto the series, and today we've made it to episode 6, the halfway point. Woo!
Woo! Oh my gosh. We are at the halfway
This is
point.
the halfway point. We did it. So, thanks everybody coming on the journey with us and all the new people we picked up along the way. I hope you're enjoying this ode to Pluto, the series.
Technically, we'll finish the halfway point at the end of the next episode. But anyway,
Yeah, I meant this episode. Yeah, anyway.
Anyway, we're doing great.
It's fine. Okay, so before we get into it, let's do our corrections and clownery segment. We don't have a lot. We just have one from one of our Patreon members that I wanted to bring up that was basically helping us with a call to action, which is how do you say someone's name, basically. So thank you, Cassie M from Patreon, for chiming in because we were talking about Pang's actress and I can never get her name right. So Cassie's going to help us out. So Cassie says the actress nickname size is how you say it. In Thai is spelled, and then they spell it out in Thai, which I cannot say or describe, so we're just going to move on. And as Thai script, contrary to English, also carries pronunciation, which I didn't know. This would mean it's supposed to sound like size with a longer E at the end. So like size, I guess.
I think I saw another comment say size-y.
Size-y?
Because they put like another E on the end. And they said they wrote the word size and then another E on the end.
Okay,
so I'm assuming it's like size-y.
Size-y?
Size-y.
Okay. Cool. I think the rest of Cassie's comment just made me laugh. It's not really a correction, but it says, great recap of episode 5, part 1. In fact, I'm already looking forward to your take on episodes 10 and 12, which in my opinion are the weakest episodes story-wise. Caitlin's challenge, quote, only you can convince me these episodes are way better than I remember. Thanks, Cassie. Thanks for playing along.
I laughed my ass off when I read this.
It was hilarious, so we had to include it. So thank you.
But also, you're going to hurt Theora because episode 11's included in that, and episode 11 is part.
It says on episodes 10 and 12.
10 to 12.
Oh, 10 to 12. Yeah, not everybody liked the episode. I like the episode. I liked it better than the novel. But that's okay. We will convince you when we get there. But for now, we're doing episode 6. So thank you, everybody. If you have anything to chime in with, please leave us a comment. We will catch up to it when we are recording. So please keep sending those and we appreciate you. All right. And with that, let's move on to episode 6. So this episode travels back in time. So we go back to 2014 where young I and the motorbike gang consisting of Ben, Pang, and Kasol stop by Ben's mother's establishment. So she's like a street food vendor. After a long day of doing laundry, because they're good little citizens. No, I'm kidding. We'll get into it. Okay. And so they all kind of like gather here. And it's really interesting the way I talks to Ben's mother. Like it's really clear that she's close to Ben's mom. So this is at the stage where like I's kind of a teenager. They're like in high school or high school seniors. And so her parents have been dead for a while, basically. And so here's like a mother figure. And she's obviously very close. Just by the way they talk very casually to each other, you can kind of tell. And it's interesting that I seems like less guarded around Ben's mom than she does around her own family. So I thought that was really interesting to see like immediately when this flashback starts.
Yeah, and with her not having that close family relationship at home, she's probably seeking that out as well. So it's great that she does have someone in her life that could give her that type of bond. I'm just happy for her.
Yeah, because like she mentioned in past episodes when she was talking to May, where she's like, "Oh, my friends became more important to me." Like I didn't know that. I mean, why would we? I didn't know that like Ben's mom was kind of included in that when she was saying that as part of the friends became family. So like surrogate sibling, surrogate parent kind of thing. So we get a fuller picture of what I's support system looked like outside of her family, whom she didn't feel like were a support system to her at this stage in her life. And we're healing that in the present. So like that went on for a very long time. All right, so the kids came back with like laundry baskets, and Pang, being a child, is just like, it's really gross having to touch other people's underwear, basically, and stuff like that. Like, what a teenage thing to complain about. Like, it was really like the dialogue was real. That was funny.
Yeah. Also, I don't even want to do my own laundry.
I mean, they're getting paid, but it's still complaining. And as a reward for their effort, so it turns out that they were helping out Ben's mom, basically, who has many side hustles because capitalism. And so the kids were helping her out. And as a reward, Ben's mom's like, I'll pay you in noodles, basically. Like, yeah, GMMTV, pay you in noodles. That makes sense. So that's on brand from this production company. And then also it shows us that Ben's mother cares about these kids because, you know, food is a form of like showing you love somebody, especially because she's making it. I mean, granted, it's her job, but still, she's cutting into her profits for the kids.
Because she is all of their surrogate mothers. Yeah.
I get. I mean, we don't know anybody else's like home life except Ben. We get a glimpse of Ben's here.
I just mean like she seems really caring and like cares about every child, like all of Ben's friends, and just like seems like the type of person who's like, oh, you're here now you're my child, I'll take care of you.
Yeah. So yeah. So that shows you her character, like you said. And then she shoos them away. She's like, go sit down. I'll make you noodles. And the kids go sit down and chat while they wait for the noodles. And we get this like wide shot with them sitting under the not under the bridge, but like the bridge is framing them. And there's a dog in a vest that crosses the frame. So if you missed that, you're welcome. That's for you,
Laura. I did miss it, and I'm so upset with myself for missing it. How did I miss it?
Because you watched it on like 4 times normal speed, and this happens in like the blink of an eye. I said like you watch it on double speed or whatever. It happens real fast. It's like a second, and this dog just crosses the stairs. I guess there's just like dogs on set. Like I don't know why this dog is here. Whatever. He's in a vest, so somebody owns this dog. It's not like a stray dog just wandering on set.
I love it.
I'm just saying, if you missed that little detail, there's a dog in a vest. I don't know whose dog it is. I assume somebody who was working on Pluto just had a dog.
It's cute.
So you're welcome if you missed that. Okay.
Really
so then the kids start trauma bonding over how gross privileged people are, basically. And they're saying all this like, oh, it's disgusting. Like their conversation, basically, like they're like, these rich motherfuckers don't even have the time of day to remove used menstrual products from their clothing before giving them to someone else to wash, which is so disgusting.
Like, that is just really disgusting.
What is wrong with fucking privileged people? Oh my god. Like, what the hell?
That's not even something that would come across my brain to like not do.
You had to like intentionally do that. Like, it's so weird. Okay, so like that basically this a lot of this particular exchange is very much like the haves and the have-nots, kind of like social commentary. And oh my god, we're in the have-not group right now because they're the ones in the labor force serving the upper class or whatever in this conversation. So the kids are like, wow, rich people are gross. It's basically this conversation. And then Ben's mom arrives with the noodles and comments as they're griping over this. She says, quote, it's normal in this line of work. Overthinking it won't earn you any money. And yeah, I think this whole thing is a lot of social commentary that I really love. And it's particularly on like service industry stuff, because what Ben's mom is saying, she's like, that's the situation, that's the job. Complaining does not change our circumstances, because like complaining doesn't suddenly make us wealthy enough that we don't need to do this job anymore. And that really sucks.
It does, but at least she can be like, oh, this is just what it is. It is what it is. It shouldn't have to be that way, though. And that's the real issue here.
Yeah, that's the commentary part, too. And like, she's somebody who's been in the service industry, we assume, for a very long period of time. She's got her own established food cart and things like that. So like, she's somebody who's been weathered by this particular circumstance for a long period of time and is like has the wisdom of age to be like getting upset, because like if you complain it means you're upset about it. She's like, being upset doesn't change the situation, just you got to learn to move on, otherwise you're dwelling in this and making yourself more miserable in a situation that's already miserable. You just gotta be like, I got my money, bye. Like that's what she's telling them. She's basically giving them a life lesson. She's like, if you continue in this down this path, like you're gonna have to learn to just do it and not let it affect you, is what she's basically saying. All right. So then Ben's mother not only feeds them, she also gives them a cut of the earnings from doing the laundry, which is pretty. I don't know if they expected that. They all seem kind of surprised that she did this. So I don't know if they just normally help her out and are just like, yeah, free food. And here she's like, here's some allowance money or whatever. And so she then tells them afterwards, go home and study, like after you finish eating. And this is going to but this continues something that's been going on in Pluto, starting first with like I and her grandmother and and is now continuing into other characters where we start to see like the value placed on academics. This is not uncommon in a lot of places in the world, and it should be in America, but it's not anymore. So, because academics is one of the few routes to climb out of poverty, so there's a lot of value on it, and so we're starting to get this point of view clashing between the child that's doing the academics with the hope for a better future, and then the parent or guardian figure that's investing in the child so that the child can have a better future. And both routes require sacrifice for the future. It's playing the long game versus like, I did laundry, it was gross, I got money, instant gratification, versus being like, if you trudge through this for 20 years, you will never have to touch people's menstrual products ever again in laundry baskets. Think about that kind of thing. So here we go. So we see that we get this Ben's mom, right? And Ben's mom works her ass off. Like you see her here. She's running the noodle shop. She's got these kids helping her run her laundry business on the side. And like, what does she have to show for it? Like, not much. Like, her and Ben are living paycheck to paycheck. We don't know the rest of their family situation. We don't know if there's a partner, other kids. We don't know. All we see is Ben and his mom. That's like kind of all we have to go off of. And it's really evident in this conversation here that they're all having that she wants better for Ben. And also Ben's friends, which is why she's like, hey, it's late, go study. Because she wants them to escape the fate she's trapped in, right? Which is paycheck to paycheck, service industry, doing all the, the grudge work of society and like not having the luxury to really complain about it because it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And it's clear that like all the kids think very highly of Ben's mother, like, and her struggle for the most part seems really missed on them, except Ben. I mean, Ben is with her all the time, right? And he sees how much she works, and it's why he seems motivated to really offer to help her in any way that he can, because he sees how much of the family burden she's carrying by herself. And like her friends just come in and they're like, your mom's so cool, she gave us noodles, but like he sees the daily how much this is taking a toll on her, what she's doing, and that we're not, they're not just like employing you to do laundry for fun. It's like they need that money to survive, and so Ben's innocence was shattered a long time ago is what I'm saying. And like the friends don't see that because they're just, they come in and see fun Ben's mom, not like the daily struggle of Ben's mom.
Well, it's all like hiding the problems behind and pretending like things are okay because your struggle is your own struggle. That's not what they're living by. They don't portray that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is like, whatchamacallit, performing, I guess, in society, but also like the friends aren't around mom enough to see the daily struggle. They come to the food cart and they're like, look at your mom, she's so cool, she gives us noodles, and they're not with her the way Ben goes home with her and like probably sees the big, the pay your bills stuff, and like they're just not with them all the time. It's the same way that I sees Meemaw struggle, but nobody else sees Meemaw struggle because I's physically with her all the time. And doesn't see it because Oom's in cram school or the hospital, wherever the hell is. How did not see this? Like, Oom's the smart one. Maybe, that's the commentary. She's not the street smart one. And so maybe she just missed it all. And here's I living life, seeing struggle from other people's point of view, and then comes home later and is like, oh shit, we're poor too. Whoops. Like, it could just be one of those, she just never put it together, because when you're a kid, you don't put it together. And then when you get older, you're like, oh shit, that's our situation. Got it.
Yeah. Poor Ben lost his childhood pretty quickly.
All these kids did. Well, we don't know about the other kids. Ping seems like she's just living life. I think Ping's fine.
Yeah.
Ping's chilling. Actually, Ping in the novel was doing extremely well. Like Ping in the novel was the flight attendant. Like, I don't think it was. I think was too. But like Ping was like really wealthy, like a wealthy friend. Like, she gets out of poverty, like out of all of them.
Good for her.
I know. So then, yeah, she has like this really nice ass apartment and all this stuff. And yeah, I think Ping was fine. I don't know about Console though.
Maybe her family is a little more well off, and like
possibly.
But out of everybody, I and Ben seem the most alike.
Yeah, I mean, they're setting up Ben and his mother as the foil to like I and her situation. So it's like a mirror. She's seeing her life through somebody else. So that's what they're doing right here. And I think this was, I don't remember if this was in the novel or not. I think the GMMTV just did this to give us the comparison, basically. Or so that I can contextualize her situation, which she may not have done before. Okay, so anyway, they get the noodles, they start eating. Everybody's like, your mom's so cool, we love her. And Ben like just keeps glancing over at his mom, and he looks like real concerned about her. So it's obvious that he cares a lot about his mother, and it's clearly bothering him how much his mom sacrifices to keep their family going. And yeah, like we said a minute ago, there it was in my notes. GMMTV expanded on Ben's character, and they set him up as this foil for I, basically, so that we have, again, the comparison between the two, or we can contextualize the I situation through Ben's point of view, because they like to play with point of view in this story. That's very fun. So as they're kind of eating and getting going, Ben tells his friends he's decided he's not going to go to college, and instead he's just going to jump straight into the workforce. And all his friends are like flummoxed, because his mom sacrificed so much for him to go to college so that he can have a better life and get out of poverty, basically. And so his friends are like, wait, Ben, what? What are you talking about? And when they start protesting, he assures them, he's like, look, I've thought this through. And the amazing part is he's like, I already have a job lined up as like a mechanic apprentice kind of thing. So like he's like gone through all the steps, right? And is already like, I'm just waiting to get that diploma as I get out of here. And Ben explains to them that he's tired of watching his mother sacrifice for him. And he wants to end her, quote, like, suffering, which is one of the pillars of Buddhism that we talked about, or characteristics we talked about in the other episode with the Dharma poem. And he wants to end her suffering so that she can achieve more happiness now, right? So this is like short-term thinking versus long-term thinking. And Ben's rationale is if he can bring the family home an income as well, then his mom can work less. And that way she's not carrying this burden by herself. And he says one line that's really kind of heartbreaking, where he says, this kind of life, meaning like working in the service industry, blue collar work, kind of social commentary thing, where he says, this kind of life doesn't allow both of us to live comfortably. So at this stage, we're getting Ben's point of view in this whole like sacrificing for the family situation. And Ben is young, right? He's like a high school senior about to graduate kind of thing. So he's a teenager. And because he's young and he lacks a lot of life experience at this point, what he fails to see is that like his course of action here, like this decision point he's at, while it may help his mom in the short term, in the long term, it's going to condemn him and his future family to a life of poverty. So like his mom made all these sacrifices so he could escape the cycle of poverty, and then he chooses to stay trapped in it. So it kind of negates all the sacrificing your mom just did. So, you know, like there's two sides to this. because it's short-term versus long-term thinking kind of a way. And like the thing is that Ben's situation, I's situation, like this is a real scenario. And there's really no right answer. There's only your actions and the consequences of the actions. And it's either you're going to get the satisfaction now or later or never, because like it's all a gamble either way. So there's no right answer here. It's just Ben is doing what he thinks is right, given his current life experience, which is not much. All he sees is what his mom is going through. And then his mom, who has lived longer and doesn't want her son in this situation, is sacrificing everything so he doesn't become her, and then he chooses to become her, which is like the irony of the situation.
Yeah, and he's, of course, like with the money, seeing his mom struggle, like having to grow up quicker. This is just a reminder of that he is still growing up and a child, because again, like you said, like he's not thinking long term. He doesn't have that experience to be like, oh, it's better to do the long plan than the instant gratification that you were talking about. So it's just a good reminder that that is where he is at this point. So, like, going off of the foil between Ben's and I, so Ben's situation with his mom mirrors I's with Meemaw's, at least in terms of like the caregiver not wanting the child to worry about helping out and just focus on school. But I and Ben both share the fact that they don't want to see someone that they care about killing themselves working just to be able to do something for them. They don't want to feel like a burden and causing the person that they love to be even more stressed and hurting themselves in the process. And I feel like this is what like growing up without money like kind of teaches you. And unfortunately, it's a very common response. Like, I'll take it on so you don't have to. And then it's just like kind of a vicious cycle, because at this flip side, it's the same thing with the caregiver being like, oh no, now my child is taking care of me. That's not, I'm supposed to be taking care of them. So it's just this vicious cycle of I want to help you, but we both can't be trying to sacrifice the same things, because then we're not getting anywhere. But at the end of the day, I think this all comes back to trauma, because it's always trauma.
Yep.
And during that conversation where Ben is talking about not going to college and trying to help his mom out, you can see her internalizing everything that he's saying. Like, this is the moment of realization. She's like, oh, all these things, I see that happening with Meemaw. And she's very quiet throughout the explanation. She stops eating and just sits there taking everything in. And this poor girl looks like she's increasingly becoming depressed. And no one else is seeing that, because they're so focused on Ben, which obviously he's the focus of the conversation. But if anyone just like turned to look at I feel like they would have been able to see like, oh, she's not okay right now either. But this is her fully realizing the situation and realizing that she doesn't want to be the burden on Meemaw, and that there's two of them in her life. So Meemaw is taking care of double the responsibility. Now she's like, well, it's going to be up to me to at least minimize it. But we'll see that in a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna add to that I's situation has more complications than Ben does. Because again, we don't know the full extent of Ben's situation. We only see this scene. So again, do they have another parent? Do they have a grandparent that's helping them? Are there other kids? In Ben's situation, we don't know. We don't see it. So the assumption is it's Ben and his mom, and that's it. And that's all we have to go off of. Because again, this is not in the book. This is just a GMM TV thing. So like, that's the assumption. So using that as the assumption, there's a couple of complications. First is that Meemaw is much older than Ben's mother. So like in the, in the ending the suffering thing, we talked about the characteristics of Buddhism and so that, everything's always changing. And so in part of Ben's motivation under that, their religious practice would be, well, let's end the suffering now versus waiting for it to change. We'll change it now, kind of thing. So that's his motivation, so that mom can live comfortably now. The thing about, and like delaying it is the other option, right? I'll just go through school. It's 4 more years or whatever. And then her suffering can end. All of our suffering can end, kind of thing. Meemaw has less time on this earth than Ben's mother does. Okay. Her time to, quote, live comfortably is way less. Okay. So think about who's, again, this is a mirror situation. She's looking at Ben and his mom and going like, oh shit, this is my life. And trying to compare that is different because Meemaw doesn't have long on this earth compared to Ben's mother. If nothing weird happens, like comas or whatever, ciao, leave them alone for a minute. Let them age. Okay. If they just aged, Meemaw's already at a disadvantage, right? And I's already noticed that her grandmother has health issues. So she's not like the pinnacle of health at this point, too, right? She's already declining physically as part of aging and working so hard, right? So, and we'll see that in a minute, the way Meemaw can't even cope with her own health issues. Okay, so if I is thinking along the lines of Ben at this stage, then her opportunity to, quote, help Meemaw by making the sacrifice she needs to do now, not later, because who knows how much time Meemaw has left, right? You know what I mean? So for there's an urgency, more of an urgency for her to make this decision than there is for Ben, actually, if you think about their caregiver situations. Second thing is what you brought up is the other complication is So Meemaw has 2 dependents compared to Ben's mother, and is, quote, the smart one. And if you were to think about this, has better chance of succeeding academically and escaping the cycle of poverty than who sees herself as intellectually inferior, right? She's not jazzed about school and stuff. So from this scene, really, if has those things in her brain while she's making the comparison of like Ben's situation, my situation, it's the perfect setup for to consider doing this exact same thing Ben is doing. Okay, and then I just want to bring up again the key from this particular scene right here where they're having the noodles, we get introduced to Ben's mom. The key is that this whole thing is from Ben's point of view. Like you're only seeing Ben's point of view. Mom makes a few comments offhandedly, okay, but we're only getting we're getting the kid's point of view right now, okay? He loves his mother and wants better for her. Understandable. He's a good kid, loves his mom. Okay. The thing is, like, we don't get Ben's mom's point of view in the situation. We don't get her reaction either to Ben's decision to be like, I'm giving up on academics to go become a mechanic, which is like a dead end job, basically. We don't get that reaction from his mom. That would have been interesting to see. We get Meemaw's reaction to doing the same thing, but like, you can only imagine how that went down. So just keep that in mind now. We're just getting the setup from the kid's point of view. So like later we're going to get the adult and like how the adult feels about, because the adult's the one making the sacrifices, and like how the adult feels about this investment they're making and what happens when the kid robs them of that. So we'll get into that later with Meemaw.
All right. But with that, we interrupt this video to bring you some shout outs for our Chaos Crew over on Patreon. Woo! Woo! Our Chaos Crew members on the Big Gay Rider Dice here and above.
Put the screen up, Caitlin.
Oh, damn it. Thank you.
Yay.
Chaos Crew members are Moving Forward Leading, A Mix Bonzone _multi, Natalia, Danny, Michelle G, Ariel W, Leona, Warjupichin, Cassie M, Here For It, Jill L, Regina B, Monet F, Jasmine O, and Nancy D.
Woo!
And our featured Big Gay supporter members for this episode are Amy, Laura S, and DeJessie. Thank you so much for your support. We truly appreciate it. And thank you to everyone wherever you're able to support us. Just by listening, watching, consuming our content, you are supporting us. If you would love to continue supporting us, make sure to follow us on social media at Big Gay Energy Pod on all platforms. And if you can't join Patreon, don't worry, we totally understand. Come join our Discord, which is completely free, and you can come talk to us and a lot of other people about queer media and just have a good time over there. We would love to get to know you.
Speaking of social media, what do we have going on our social media right now that you guys, if you're listening to this, would probably be into, Caitlin?
Are we talking about the bracket thingy?
Yeah, because that's still going on, right?
Probably. So, if you follow us on social media, we're going to be doing it on Instagram, YouTube, Threads, and Twitter. I believe those are all the platforms you're allowed to vote on. We are trying to figure out which Thai girl love show has the most big gay energy. As like our big gay energy award in our episodes, this is very subjective. So we're just trying to figure out which one's the most gay. You tell us. And I do love that we're in the nominations currently as we're filming this, and people are giving me the reasons why, and I love it. So that voting will be going on. So check that out.
I will say.
And follow us too. We'll be doing more too if people like it.
More than one person was just like, Big Nung. And it's like, yeah, that's a really gay reason to like a show like that. Yeah, Big Nung.
Yes. I'm
Pretty
not
gay.
to be biased or anything, but like that was literally in my head as we were making this challenge. It's just
I love her so much.
because our lovely listener Nancy asked like what are we basing this off of? And I'm like, well, I don't know. My brain just kept going Big Nung. So
yeah, Big Nung. It's whatever. It's up to interpretation. It's art.
It's the shows in general.
The show. Yeah.
The moments, the thing. Okay, so no, my brain was like Big Nung, Ingfa in the bathroom.
Yes. Oh my, A Secret of Us. We'll have to do our own little after dark where we do our own brackets.
Definitely.
I'm surprised nobody's put Harmony Secret out there yet.
They have.
Oh, okay. I just didn't see it.
It got there today.
Come on, guys. There it is.
Yeah, I was like, none of the new shows were popping.
Yeah, I was like, why are you? Yeah.
What's going on?
I mean, I understand Big Nung, but like, Pluto's up there a bunch of times, which there's a lot of big energy. Look at I all the time. She rides a fucking motorcycle. Come on now. It's really got a lot of big energy.
The data from this. So yes, definitely check that out. And
yeah, give us your opinions. You can vote. We can make a winner together. Only you can help us decide who has the most big gay energy of all the Thai girl love shows at the time of this recording.
And let us know like what other types we should do.
Yeah.
What other things should we figure out?
So have fun over there, because this is super scientific, what we're doing. Help us advance gay science. Thank you.
All right, back to the episode.
Yes, we should probably get rid of our Patreon members, unless you want to keep them there the whole episode.
No, I had my finger on it.
All right. But for now, we'll follow I. So after I eats her noodles, she goes home and finds Meemaw in the living room dividing up the earnings for the day. So, or I guess for the pay period, whatever the hell's going on here. I'm not sure. So she's setting aside money for cram school for I and and I picks up the money that's set aside for her. And it's a lot of money. Like that's a pretty thick little baggie of money, right? For her to go to cram school, which is again an added investment on top of her just going to college and paying for college. You got to pay for this extra schooling to get her to college, right? And I is like, what the fuck is this? Like, why would you set all this money aside for me to go to cram school? And it's like wild for I, because she's like, she never asked Meemaw to do this, right? Meemaw just, I guess, assumed I would need money. They would both need money for cram school to like, again, enhance their odds of getting into university by like investing even more in school, not just like going to public high school, which is what I's doing. Has the scholarship for the smart school, right? She's like, no chances will be taken here. You guys need to go to cram school so you can be even more prepared, right? And Meemaw responds to this by saying, girl, I raised you. I know you need cram school to get into college. Don't even fuck with me right now. Like, come on. That's what we're doing. Let's be honest. And poor I looks so crushed because, I mean, she doesn't deny it because again, she knows academics are not her strength, but like, it still hurts to hear Meemaw. Like, damn.
This scene is another example of seeing how similar the two of them are, I and Meemaw. because they're basically making the same arguments throughout the scene and
Yep.
getting annoyed when the other person doesn't understand where they are coming from. And when Meemaw says, how else would someone like you get into university? Like, I understand where she's coming from with that, but boy, does that have to hurt I hearing, because the way she says it definitely makes I feel worse, because it makes her feel like a failure because it's just one more thing Meemaw has to pay for because she isn't doing well enough in school. So it's like, oh, I'm directly causing her to have to sacrifice even more, all because I'm not smart in school like is.
But like that argument falls apart when you see that she set aside money for to go to cram school too. If so smart, why is she going to cram school? Like it's just like she's investing in both of them is what it is. And it just comes off as Meemaw being frustrated and tired and being like, let's be real, you gotta go to cram school, girl. So does your sister who's smarter than you. Like they're shit it for both of them. So it's not just I going to cram school. I think I's just frustrated because she's like, that's a lot of fucking money. And you've been telling me I'm dumb my whole life. Like, what is that? Like, it's mixed messages in a lot of ways. Like with the academics, when you're you know what I mean? Because Meemaw's like,
Yeah,
she can't read. And then she's like, go to cram school. Here's all this money. And I's like, what the hell? If you really didn't believe in me, why are you setting aside all this money for me? I think that's also puzzling because these two are great at saying stuff, but not actually communicating sometimes, like processing.
There's always more to the conversation that is not being said, and they cannot get it out because they don't know how to.
I mean, that is the theme of this whole show, is there's always more than what is actually being said, and like that's why we're here picking it all apart. So yeah, I think I's just also just confused. Yeah, so then I looks after like this little quip, I looks closer at the table and notices that it's not just cram school Meemaw is squirreling money away for. She's saving money for I and to go to college. So it's cram schools and then tuition money and money to live off of, like while they're in school. So she's thinking ahead to be like, when these two get into college, I want to make sure they have enough money that they don't have to work while they're in college. They can just make that their job. Like she's investing everything she can into the twins and the twins being successful. And so looking at this, I don't think I ever noticed Meemaw do this before. But the assumption is that Meemaw was this forward thinking when it came to their future, that I assume Meemaw has been doing this for a long time to make sure that I and had the means to go to college if they couldn't get scholarships. Because like is smart and can like get scholarships and stuff, but like she can't count on I getting a scholarship. So she's like, I gotta save money for I, because I don't know that she can do that and like save us all money, basically.
I didn't realize that's what she was doing. I thought it was the tuition for their schooling now. So
no.
Thank you.
No, has a scholarship, so she doesn't pay for private school for And then I guess I's in public school. I don't know how that goes. Yeah. This is literally college. And so but by Meemaw doing this now, even just now, it means that Meemaw believed I was capable of going to college. Because if she didn't, she wouldn't have saved money for I. If she really didn't believe I was capable of this, she would not put money away for her to go to cram school. Like this right here is a tip to I that her grandma has believed in her the whole time, and I just missed it because I felt Plutoed forever. So you know what I mean? And missed. There were so many signs. You missed them all because you were a moody little teenager, kind of. You're a little emo sometimes. But here's right here. Meemaw believes in you. That's what this means. Okay, but we're focusing on money because this is the capitalism opening scene. So I doesn't understand how Meemaw can afford to save all this money for both her and and afford everything else, like, I don't know, medicine and shit for Meemaw. And she's like, girl, you're putting so much money into me and my sister that like you're neglecting yourself. And Meemaw brushes it off, telling I, this is for adults to worry about. A kid like you should stay out of it. All right, so now we're finally getting the adult's point of view of this whole poverty situation and the investing in academics, which is a long-term investment, not a short-term investment. So from Meemaw's point of view, she's clearly investing in the twins' futures so they can escape poverty and live a better life than she did. And she's also doing her best to shield the twins from the reality of their financial situation, because the way this conversation goes, it seems like this is the first time I has putting all of this together. Like clearly she's noticed some stuff, because she'll bring up like the medicine. She's like, you don't even buy proper medicine. Like she clearly notices things about Meemaw, but I think she's like finally like putting it all together and being like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And the thing is, like, I think Meemaw on some level wants them to have a childhood. And so she's trying to shield them from it so that they can have that childhood and not, like, to your point, grow up too fast or whatever. And to me, I think this is how Meemaw is expressing her love to the twins. And it, again, mirror image of I, because if you think of love languages, it's acts of service, which is exactly what I does. I is an acts of service type of person when it comes to expressing her affection. And I think Meemaw's does the same thing. It's just that, like, I doesn't see all of those acts of service that Meemaw's really doing, or like doesn't see the motivation for it, like that it's coming from a place of love, basically.
With Meemaw wanting them to have a childhood, you know what that all goes back to? Not the trauma of losing their parents. It all goes back to those damn funeral people talking about them and taking away their childhood in that moment. It's all because of them.
I mean, they lost their childhood when their parents died, so let's be honest. But Meemaw was trying to be like, we're in this situation now, let's do our best. And, you know, perhaps that's why she was really lenient with I when I ran away and was doing God knows what as a kid. Not ran away, but like running all over the neighborhood. Like, she was
Like
letting her be a
bullying.
kid.
Yeah.
Okay. So, again, Meemaw tells I, this is for adults to worry about, not for you. You're too young to be involved with what adult business, basically. And then hearing this, I looks really troubled, because Meemaw then tries to like get out of there, and she starts like limping away and clutching her back, and like it again showing physically all of this is taking a toll on her one guardian she has left. But and I tries to point it out. She's like, look at you, like you're obviously not okay. And Meemaw's like, don't worry about it. I've got this. And the thing is that, like, Meemaw is the only adult left in this family, thanks to GMMTV. She's the only adult that they have. And by Meemaw's own, this is GMMTV's fault, all of this. And by Meemaw's own logic, she's the adult, right? She's like, only adults can handle this. There's no one looking out for Meemaw, is the kind of the thing, right? And so she, this elderly woman who's gone through this already with her own kid, is doing it again with twins and nobody to help her. She's shouldering all the burden of keeping everybody alive all by herself. And I think I really is starting to understand in this scene what a tremendous sacrifice this is, because this is Meemaw's second round of doing this. You know what I mean? Like, she spent her whole life, probably most of her adult life, keeping kids alive. That's a fucking huge sacrifice. And she's doing this one by herself. So when she's older and it's harder to do it, right? And I's a handful. Look at her. So, like, she's easy to parent.
Oh my gosh.
She's a handful.
And have two, like, obviously they're going to be different, but they're like drastically different ways that you have to raise them too.
I mean,
that's
yeah,
a lot, Meemaw.
I starts fires in alleys. Like, you know, that's a lot to deal with. Remember that. I just did that. She plays with fire when she's unsupervised. So, poor Meemaw. Okay, so Meemaw exits this scene and just like kind of leaves I to her thoughts. And then I rummages through the tin where Meemaw keeps the money and finds that there's like a couple coins left over after Meemaw has divided up the money for their future, basically, her and future. And so this is all the money Meemaw has left after taking care of her and And I's really staring at this. And I, like, sighs really big. And I think she feels really helpless and probably, to your point, guilty about being, quote, the cause of this, even though she's not. It's just, that's how she sees it from her point of view, because she's a kid, right? And at this stage, it's like she now has the knowledge of their situation. It's like this is the shattering of her innocence, because while she saw little glimpses of things going on with Meemaw, Meemaw's this big, formidable person, right? Remember, like in Blank, when and Big Nung's like, I never thought the Grandman would die. Like, she's just this like imposing figure that's always been there, like towering over me. I think I has a similar sentiment towards Meemaw, where she's like, Meemaw has been this constant presence in my life, and she's a strong, independent, snarky woman, and like who could beat her down? But now she's starting to see that like my grandmother's not as like invincible as I thought she was. Because when you're a kid, you think your guardians are invincible, and they're not. They're people and they're fallible, just like you are. And I think that's the shattering of the innocence here, where she's seeing the reality of their situation, the reality of Neema's health, of the fact that she's older, and all of this stuff. And so it's like, I can't unsee this once she sees the reality of their situation.
That's a really good point, because with a childhood that was like so unstable in the beginning, she's clinging on to the fact that the constant was Meemaw. Meemaw's never left them. Meemaw's never changed. It was the one thing that really is a home for I, because there was nothing ever else constant. And when you are so unsure in life, just knowing that there is that person or thing that will be constant, like that's all you see. You see it in like the one moment in time that makes you feel safe. I'm not explaining this correctly. It's like, so similar to the situation. I don't know if it's similar, actually. You know what? Let me just.
I can't wait. Just dive right in. We're here. Everyone, come on the journey.
So I'm gonna relate this back to my life real quick. If you were to ask me how old my grandmother is right now, I would say she's 66, because that is when she has stopped aging in my brain. And I think that this is there's a reason. I'm kidding here. The reason that I think she stopped aging at that point was because that was when my life became not as stable. So we were moving a lot. My mom and I were homeless a little bit. But her house and her were always the constant, like to this day. So I'm like, oh, I just take it for granted. She's always there. She's always going to be there. And then someone let me know, unfortunately, last year, that she's actually about 84 now.
Damn, girl, so, good for you.
Yeah, so she's doing great, and she's very healthy. So it's like I take that for granted. But then now it's just slowly sleeping in, being like, oh, no, you really have to take every moment. You have to. This is not going to be the constant that you think it is. And one day you will not have this. And then you're going to have to deal with that. So right now, this is, sorry, I'm getting emotional. This is I having that moment of realization that this constant is not always going to be here. And the moment that I puts her own money in that tin, she is resigning herself to the fact of what she thinks she has to do in order to not feel like a burden on Meemaw. Because if she can help any bit, like maybe that'll just let her have that one constant in her life a little longer too.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Okay, but emotional stuff aside, there was only coins in the tin, and I feel like Meemaw would know that there was only coins in the tin. Where is she gonna think this money came from? I feel like she'd be more pissed off that you put money in the tin.
Correct. Yeah. No. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like they're gonna have words later.
Like, or Meemaw's gonna think that she went crazy and miscounted something. And then she's just gonna be going through the money, be like, no, I swear I counted right. Like, how is there money in here? And then she's just gonna spiral.
Yeah. Again, I as a child, she didn't think it's just there's a lot of emotions going on, not a whole lot of thinking in the scene. I mean, she's thinking, but like from her experience, which is not much because she's young. That's part of being young. You just lack life experience. That's just how it goes. But regardless, this moment with the tin and the money is the crossroads moment for I. So I has a choice, the way Ben had a choice. Okay. So I can choose to abide by Meemaw's wishes and accept Meemaw's sacrificial love that Meemaw's been doing since you were born, probably. Or other option is I can choose to become Meemaw and start the cycle of sacrificing for the good of the family all over again, which is what Ben did. And I say family here because is still a part of this, even if she was not in this conversation. Like, is part of this family shit, right? She's still a dependent, okay, in the scenario. And now I is like taking the step into adulthood and leaving in childhood, basically, by like becoming Meemaw, essentially. And we've seen in another scene where I think it was Kasol and I were talking, where I basically let it drop that she sees as an extension of herself, where Kasul basically said that like success is I success. And this is the exact same mentality Meemaw has, where her sacrifice is worth it if the twins succeed. So like, again, I has shared Meemaw's like mentality the whole time. She doesn't realize it. But here I, in this moment with the tin and the money, I is deciding that she's going to help Meemaw carry the burden so that can be the one that succeeds. So it's not just what Ben was doing, where he's like, me and my mom cannot live comfortably if she's always sacrificing for me, which again, like you were almost done with school. Like it was a couple more years at this point. Again, kids. But whatever. He's like, we both get to kind of live okay if we're both struggling. That was his choice. But like in this scenario, we got is still a dependent in all of this. So what I is really doing here, it's not just a sacrifice for Meemaw. She's also making a sacrifice for so that her and Meemaw can be the ones living paycheck to paycheck and trapped in the cycle of poverty so that can succeed and can escape. So together, without knowing it, Meemaw and are going to financially Meemaw and I are going to financially support Okay. So with this in mind, with I deciding to like sacrifice with Meemaw for episode 11 should not be surprising to anybody when you get there, because I has been sacrificing for the whole show. Like this is I putting first. Again, the only time she didn't put first was when she burned the book, the Solar Sibling book, because she let her big emotions get the better of her. And I feel like she was guilty about that forever. But like, here she is sacrificing her future, trapping herself in poverty to not just help Meemaw, but for is now the investment for both of them.
That book burning moment really shaped her, because that's guilt.
Definitely one of the things. So, okay, and then the other thing that makes this scene with Meemaw and I's decision to be like, I'm going to do this, the contrast to the Ben scene is that I is making this decision all by herself, and she's alone when she makes the decision, right? Because in the prior scene, Ben was with his friends, and he told them, he's like, I'm going to do this. I's by herself when she's making the decision. And she doesn't tell Meemaw, and she's not telling right now. So what she's doing and why she's doing it, finds out eventually, but like I don't think I went and was like, look, here's what I'm doing. Like I don't think that's how this went down, because they were not communicating at this stage. I think finds out that that's what I's doing.
That's too much communication.
Right, we can't have that. So anyway, okay. Anything else about the money scene before we keep going down memory lane with I?
Just that it puts a lot of things in perspective for I in general, like watching her throughout the show. It's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, it's very good social commentary too, and I appreciate that. And GMF TV does social commentary very well, which I like, because there's a lot to read into. Okay, So then after that, we transition to I receiving an acceptance letter from Chiang Mai University. And it was wild she even applied, but I guess this was to appease Meemaw when she knew she wasn't going to do it. Or maybe I was like, maybe I got to prove, can I even do it? Because I'll know once and for all when I get those rejection letters. And she gets an acceptance letter. So I does the dummy manages to get into university. I was very curious why she picked this university. I don't know anything about this university whatsoever in terms of like what it's like as a school. But what I do know, thanks to the loyal pin, is that Chiang Mai is in northern Thailand, which is opposite side of the country from Bangkok, which is in southern Thailand. So they're like 700 kilometers apart, roughly, which is like 430 miles. Okay. So if I was even entertaining going to this university, there's no way she could easily come back to Bangkok to help Meemaw. Because according to Google, to travel between Chiang Mai and Bangkok by train and by car is very similar. It's like between 9 and 10 hours, depending on the method. So that's a lot of time and money to make that commute. So I think I is like, I did it, but also there's no way I could help my grandmother if I take this because it's not like she can like live at home. It's like Bangkok University or whatever. She go down the street. She's fucked. Like there's no helping Meemaw whatsoever if she takes this opportunity for herself. Like it would be impossible for her with her current means to do that. And I think I knows that. And so we get the scene of her just like sitting in this acceptance with the acceptance letter and like processing it. Like there's no way she can have it both ways, essentially. So it's a very bittersweet moment for I because she's been told by everyone around her that she's not smart enough to get into college. And on the first try, she does it. And she can't even savor this victory because she gives it up for love of Meemaw and basically. And so I ends up tucking away that acceptance letter in her desk drawer, which is like the metaphor. She's like sealing her own fate by doing this. And this moment is really interesting because the difference between this moment and moments we've seen prior with regards to I's academic pursuits is that this decision to walk away was I's choice. Like I chose this. It wasn't like taken from her. She wasn't pressured into doing this. In fact, like everybody in her life was like, would have told her like, I go to college. What the fuck are you doing? Like I's decision to walk away, like was her decision and like wasn't influenced by anybody else because we saw it play out with Ben, right? When Ben was like, I'm not doing it. And immediately Pang was like, Ben, what the fuck? Go to college. What are you doing? Like had her friends known she was making this decision, I think this would have gone down very differently with I. But she very consistently at these crossroad moments does make the decision by herself out of what she thinks is best and not influenced by like others' opinions, basically.
Just she very much keeps to herself and does not lean on her friends as much as we see like Ben communicating his decisions. She doesn't be like, oh, I decided to do this.
I mean, we have seen her like, okay, like at the beginning of the story where was like, break up with my girlfriend. I'm married now. When she's freaking out about that, what does I do? She goes to Pang immediately. She's like, I'm freaked out. I don't understand. So this was interesting that like, I would imagine she would have gone to Pang, at least Pang, and be like, Pang, what the fuck? Like, oh my God. But she doesn't. She keeps this to herself and like does make all the decisions, which is interesting for I, because normally she runs to Pang.
Fair enough. Something I noticed that is she puts the acceptance letter into the drawer, closes it, but doesn't close all the way. And I like the way they did this because it shows that she's not fully giving up on university, but also foreshadows that this moment is going to come back and be found out later because it was not fully concealed by the drawer being like fully shut.
Yes, we're putting this chapter on pause.
So from here, we get another flashback scene where I Is that a flashback scene? Anyway, we go to a scene where I is watching a how-to video on making 7-digit income from writing novels. And to me, this is just another sign of trauma caused from growing up with very little, because I don't think she feels like she can do something that she truly loves and wants to do if it isn't something that she can make good money off of. Because, I mean, it's valid because you do need money to live off, because money makes the world go around.
It sure does.
But it seems like she's trying to prove to herself that it is okay to let herself dream this and go after that dream when it's so risky. And there is something safer with a guaranteed income that she could do.
Yeah, but also, like, she hasn't been able to secure a job with a stable income is kind of the problem. Even though, you know, we saw in prior scenes that once she does get her degree, she still cannot find a job, which is how she ends up as a DoorDash driver, because she just can't get one. It's like whatever the labor market looks like at that time, like, she's struggling with her degree to even find a stable job. So here's this thing. Yeah.
It's interesting because then we see Ben, he's like, I already have a job lined up. It's just like
As
the
a
contrast
mechanic,
between,
though, like, that's not, I mean, yeah, it's a stable job, but it's like a stable blue collar job. It's a dead end job. Like you will only ever make the money. It's like service industry kind of stuff. And he was going to be an apprentice, so probably not getting paid a lot at the beginning because he's got to learn it, and then like will eventually become the mechanic. And I guess that's how like Kasol gets a job there too and stuff, because like I assume because Ben probably knew the guy or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I could have potentially probably went into some kind of actual like fully committed to the service industry, but she doesn't. And the other reason she doesn't is, we'll see later, she had to make her schedule flexible to take Meemaw to the doctor and things like that. Things couldn't do because was in school. Was we heard Oom's flight attendant schedule, which is insane. And like again, I's making the sacrifice so can have this. Was the ultimate family investment. Okay, and then it pays off when like actually succeeds. So that's what childing is. It's an investment for decades, and you won't see payoff for decades.
And then she ends up in a coma.
That's why Meemaw was so distraught, honestly, because she's like, did all the things. Did it. Did it. Why did it happen to of all people? That's why she can't reconcile that, because was the ultimate payoff of all the sacrificing. All right. So back to the scene where I's looking at like YouTube videos of like how do I make money off my book, basically. I think the other thing is, sure, it's trauma. It's like, hey, can I make money off of this? But I think the other thing is that this is an indicator that I is fully inspired by May to take her writing to the next level. Because from the jump, May has consistently told I that she has a natural talent for storytelling. Before they even talk about novels, she's like, the way you describe things, like, it's making me feel stuff. And then I's like, ooh, I better write a novel, right? Because Pretty Lady just complimented me. Okay, and then in the prior episode from this, we saw May encouraging I to share her story online so that other people can read it. So it makes sense that if I was considering sharing her work, that she would look into how to make money off of it if she was going to share it anyway. And so to me, this was a good little quick social commentary for like taking non-traditional paths to success, because that's kind of I start like is the traditional thing where it's like work hard, go to school, get all your degrees, get a good job. Does all the things and gets all the things, and even bags a rich bitch right at the end. Actually too, was pulling all these wealthy people somehow. And then I, who doesn't do any of that, still pulls a wealthy bitch and makes money off her novel. So like, again, there's no one way to live life, right? Just many ways to live life. It's kind of the point. All right. And then, okay, so if we pay attention, I was watching this. I'm watching the video I was watching. Okay, first of all, I love that she's watching an author that's another female presenting author who's extremely excited about their latest novel. And there's like, oh, I earned 5 digits for the very first time. So it's like, somebody like I can relate to. So it's like I see myself in this person kind of thing, like representation matters kind of thing. If like they can do it, I can do it kind of thing, because they are both like female presenting people. And first of all, the writer is adorable. And if you like freeze it, the shirt they're wearing says the Royal Doggo Club, which I thought was really cute. And this is somebody you should for sure take advice from. Look at this person.
I would trust everything with them.
Right. Trust them. Okay. And then, okay, so as Ai's doing this, she then like eventually puts the phone down and then busts out her journal, right? And as she's doing this, the music transitions into that like I-oon music, like the warm music. Because I think Eyes feels comforted by the thought of like making money off her novel. And it's like, I can do it. She starts, it's like, it furthers her, it fleshes out rather her dream. Cause she's like, I always wanted to write, but now like the dream is becoming more vivid. She's like, oh, I can see a path to actually achieving the dream. It's becoming more real, not fantastical as it's been for many years for her. And she starts looking through the journal. And this is a nod to, of course, the novel where Ai uses her life as inspiration for the first story. We go back to the other episode where I went through that whole thing from Zhao that she wrote about it. So like nod to the novel where Ai does use her own life to like write the books. And in the scene, she's also writing down how to make money from writing novels. And I love that she put 2 exclamation points at the end. She's like, I gotta do this. Like really emphasize this. She's so fucking funny. Oh my god. The journal's for you. Why are you doing this? It's funny. Okay. So then after all of these were flashbacks, okay? And after we finish this, we then return to the present and pick up right after the last episode, okay? So this is after May makes the deal to reward Ai for her next chapter, and I post the novel on AO3, basically, is what's happening in this scene. And like, I didn't put 2 and 2 together, like what the timeline was, but in this scene, they're wearing the exact same clothes they wore at the end of the last episode. So this is same day as the ending of episode 5. Okay, so then this scene opens and we get to see basically her post on AO3, basically. And it's really bold of Ai to use her government name to post her fan fiction. Because unless the translation in this is correct, where it says basically The Value of Love is the name of the book, and then the author is Ai. So unless like that translation is accurate, which this would track, where Ai is like, I can't put my name. So if I reverse the words, no one will know it's me. And I choose to believe that that's exactly what happened because she's a terrible spy. We've established this so many times. I would do that and be like, it's fine. No one will ever know.
She would 1000% do that. And that would be the thought process.
That would, exactly.
And she would not.
That's what she did.
Bring it up to anybody, her thought process, because they would immediately tell her that that was stupid.
Also, like, she put, okay, again, that's just, okay, so that's the name she puts. And she's showing it to May, who thinks she's And it says Ai in it.
Oh my god!
Put that together.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I know. She's the worst spy on the planet. Yep, I just put that together. May is looking at this, being like, that's an interesting pet name,
That would have been hilarious.
How did we watch this for so long and be like, May has no idea who this is? May had so many. May obviously knew who this was for a very long time. Oh, I guess May can't see it, but I assume when she clicks on it, it's gonna read maybe the author.
But I think she reads it differently. She's not reading it through this website, so that is.
That's true. Maybe she won't get that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I guess if like
getting May's blind,
she could have sent it to one of her friends and be like, "Who's Ai?" You know what I mean?
Who's Ai? You mean?
Who's Ai? No one knows. So what a
sounds
made up. Anyway, okay. So just a couple of things aside from the fact that Ai's out here using her government name like an idiot. The title of the novel, okay, is The Value of Love. And so I assume May co-signed on this working title because like this was the working title from a while ago. And remember, May's the beta reader. So she's like, you know, that fits your story. So I love that. Because like honestly, that's a big theme in the show and really a journey Ai's been on for a long time. So it makes sense if she's writing this based off her life in some aspect that like learning the value of love. That's the whole opening scene to this, which is like the value of love and sacrifice and sacrificial love with her parent, you know, Meemaw and all that kind of stuff. So this makes sense to that. Also, I love this version of AO3 or whatever they're using. Let's the author post a little cover photo.
Just for people listening, it looks more like Wattpad. Not that it matters.
Could be. But the little cover photo, whatever website they're using, I kind of want to talk about the photo because, like, I had to choose this and upload it, right? So I chooses a photo of a single red rose lying on a bed of scattered pages that look like it's like typed pages, like pages of a novel. So I think the single red rose, which you've talked about in another episode, it symbolizes like the love between May and I, and it's very singular and it's very unique and it's beautiful, hence the single red rose. And we saw her gift May a single red rose that she very caringly and carelessly kept in her jacket while she rode on a motorcycle to deliver the damn thing. And she's going to do it again, where she's going to give May another rose later in the series. So, like, it's eyes telling May, I love you, basically. It's the symbol of their love, like you said. And then the scattered pages to me look like the pages of a novel. So this is like the story that is writing for May that's born of their love. So if you put it together, it's like May taught the value of love. And that's kind of what to me, what this picture means if you kind of put those pieces together, which tracks. Okay. And then I assume I post the novel on AO3 when she's with May, since there's only one view when we're looking at this, and I is currently the one viewing it because she's impatient. And if that is indeed what happened, I think it's notable that I and May are in May's bed during this moment because they easily could have done this downstairs, because like the sequence of events is they were downstairs being cute and then took laptop, went upstairs, and then I guess I posted the novel on AO3 is kind of what happened. Because again, they could have done that downstairs, but they went in May's room to do this. And I think that that's significant because I think May's room is like a safe space for because it's just the two of them. The outside world's not there. She doesn't got to pretend to be as much, all that kind of stuff. And earlier when May brought up like sharing the novel, I was very hesitant to do it. And so I feel like when she's in this intimate space with May in May's room, I think she feels more comfortable with sharing her work to the world. And to me, I think that's really sweet and says a lot about their relationship and how I sees it. So then after she posts this, instead of like being nervous or scared, she looks really proud of herself and like really happy. And she tells May, "You gave me the courage to dream again." And I think that dreaming of writing, sure, that was always her dream. But I think dream more aligns with like like happiness. Like May brought happiness back into I's life, and I feel like that's something that's been missing for a long period of time with especially after she makes the decision to like be a surrogate caregiver for and Meemaw, basically. And so, that's the value of love in a way too. It's like that happiness and the whimsy that I gets to like indulge in now. It made it possible.
She never dreamed that she could have someone that's her own and like cares for her. Not that technically she thinks it's her own right now, but this is, I don't know if she ever thought that she'd be in a relationship like this.
No, I don't think so. I don't think I ever really put much stock into relationships because the ones, at least in the novel, the ones that she has never work out. So like, she's like, whatever. Okay, so then I's like, "You gave me the courage to dream again." And then May responds like a little cheeky bastard with, "Well, actually, dreamless sleep is like better for your health." And it's like, okay, Dr. Jan, chill the fuck out. Like, like she was complimenting you. Why are you gonna be a cheeky bastard?
Because that's just who she is.
I know. I loves it. That's her other love language, is just like relentless bantering. That's what her and Meemaw do. And true to form, I is playfully annoyed with this response. And she repositions herself. So initially she's like laying on her stomach on the laptop. And then she then moves so that she's got her head in May's lap and then takes May's arm and is like, "Cuddle me now." And initiating affection is something that's starting to happen more and more now that we're like progressing into the series. So to me, that's the indicator that their relationship is evolving, period. And that is fully unguarded with her emotions when she's with May in this moment specifically. And just look at her. She looks extremely happy and just content to just exist. so close to May. And it's really, really a stark contrast to the flashback scenes that we were getting. Cause like I rarely looks happy in any of those scenes. Like really. And like here she is just like smiling so freely. It's just that's the power of love, right? That's what May gave her. That's the dream, the happiness. Like it's right here. You see it in the scene. It's really, really, really what a contrast because we just saw a bunch of flashbacks where I was not happy, you know.
Yeah, she felt like she had a weight of the world on her.
I mean, she still does, but now she
Yeah.
has May and light at the end of the tunnel. Like with like if I can make money off of the novel, that's a way to escape poverty and like that's a way to move forward. And so she didn't just resign herself to this dead end life. She's dreaming about a better future, which she hasn't done in a very long time. And that's because May inspired her to do it. All right. And because she's so comfortable in May's arms, I shares a truth from her childhood, which I think is important, where she explains that her love of stories and novels comes from when she was a kid. When her parents were alive, they used to read bedtime stories to her and And I smiles a lot when she's sharing this with May. Not the twin part, obviously, even though May knows, not that part, because I's not a total bad spy. She's just very terrible one though. The important part is that I associates happiness with memories of her parents reading stories. And it's sad that she has to think back that far to find happy memories. Think about that. That's like 20 years ago. So, in the present, reading novels, I think, might be a way that I keeps the memory of her parents alive. So this might be another layer to the title of her story, which is like the value of love, right? And like an ode to remembering her parents, right? Because novels keep the memory alive. Okay, so then I is explaining this to May, and then the mood starts shifting entirely when I says after my parents died. So I pauses for a long time. And it's evident that when she thinks about her parents, like it's still painful, which totally understandable. And May must sense something's off or that I is really hurt by this because she starts like running her hands along I's head and grips her other hand tighter. So again, that nonverbal way to basically say, I'm here for you and you're not alone, I, so that I feel supported while she's getting sad about this. So then I continues and mentions that losing her parents felt like waking up from a good dream. And again, because remember, I hasn't dreamed for a long time. She just told me, you gave me the courage to dream again. But I guess like childhood with her parents was happy and she felt safe. And then they were gone. So I think that was the first shattering of innocence moment for I. Because like you always think your parents are always going to be there and then they're not already.
Yeah, they're supposed to be a constant in your life.
That's what fairy tales have told me.
Yeah, well, not Disney. Anyway, poor little traumatized poor kid. But I love that it's May who gives I the ability to dream again because it goes back to just showing the healthiness of the relationship. It's not her tearing her down, like being like, oh, that's a ridiculous thing to even think about doing. How are you going to make money off of that? She never even brings up like how the money aspect at all, because that's not what she's thinking about. She's like, I'm worried about your happiness. This is what I see you'll be happy doing. And I just love that it's a mutual beneficial relationship. It always comes back to that because we see so many relationships where it's just like the other person's like not always supportive and kind of like tearing them down in a way, but not them.
Yeah, they're very good at supporting each other and being caregivers to the other when the other one needs it. The other thing about May too is like the other thing about May is super privileged. So she doesn't think about money the way I thinks about money.
That's true.
So I don't even think she's like thinking about money. She's just like, you're clearly happy when you write, just write. And then I's like, I need to pay bills. And May's like, what bills? I own this fucking mansion and this maid that came with. She's not thinking about money. That's the other thing. There is
Well,
classism between the two of them. We just don't get
that
into
is
it.
And
Never
May's
forget.
response would probably just be like, you live here. I support you. You do whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, no, like literally, which I would never accept.
Mm.
Okay, so back to I in her feels about losing her parents. So then she shares that because losing her parents sparked her love of reading, basically. And then when she lost them, it was so painful that I never wanted to read again, which is really heartbreaking. And to me, this makes the fact that May sparked her love of reading even more powerful than it already was. Because in this scene, I is basically trying to tell May, like, basically, like, this that you changed me in this huge way. That's what she's trying to tell her. And she says it in the line, "You're the reason I'm brave enough to dream again." So I is contextualizing to May why this is such a big deal for her and why she's so grateful that May gifted her the courage to just read again, something she loved doing, but was so painful. Like May helped her heal, basically. And it's like I feels empowered to reclaim this part of her life she felt was lost with her parents. And that's huge. So it's not just that May like helped her figure out what career she wanted to do. She like helped heal a part of her that was, damaged when her parents died. And that's huge. Like that is huge. And May didn't even realize she was doing it. And truly, this is why Chow is insane sorry, Chow, but what the hell? How could you, at the end of the novel, claim these two don't know why they love each other? This scene explains why. Like, you're insane for that. All offense intended, ma'am. Why did you write that? It doesn't make sense.
Feel free to tell us.
I would love to know what the hell you were thinking there. Because you wrote this thing where they compliment each other, and I don't get it. Unless they're both just really dumb. Like maybe they're just idiots in love, and that's fine. I like that trope, but like, oh my god, no. Here's why. Anyway, after hearing this, cheeky May re-enters the chat and says, "Damn, the one time I'm not recording a conversation so I could play it back later." Because like she would have. She's like, "Damn, I wish I recorded this thing you just told me." Because wow, what the ultimate flattery to be told that by your crush of 10 years or whatever, that like you changed my life and healed my childhood trauma all at once. Thanks, May. And so May's like, that was so fucking beautiful. You should just put what you just said in the novel. And then I says, this isn't a story, this is real life. Which is interesting because like the novel she writes is based on her life. But I think what I is saying here is that what she was saying just now about the way May changed her life, it was a truth that she was saying that was only meant for May to hear, right? So I think that's her way of saying, I'm not going to share all of my life with the world. That was just for you. And this is huge because it's hard for May to be 100% certain when I is being fully honest with her because, she's blind. I is still pretending to be horribly, but still pretending. And so I think hearing that from I that like this is a truth that's just meant for you, I think that's a big tick in the she's into me column because May is still on the journey to try and really figure that out because of, everything. And I also like this line of like, this is my life, not a story kind of thing. Because again, another piece of social commentary that like, it's okay not to share every single part of your life online. Boundaries are okay. So in response, May shares with I what reading as a child meant to her. May has a happy association with reading as a child for completely different reasons than I. So as I just explained, I bonded with her parents and over reading, while May read to escape her parents who were fighting and should have been divorcing. Let's be honest.
Yes.
And May, used novels as her mechanism of dreaming, right? Where she dreamed of a better life by escaping into those stories. And she says this really sad line where she's like, just to see if like the dream ever becomes real. That's so sad. May was literally the princess trapped in the tower. Like she's privileged and she has a bunch of money, but like she was trapped in her gilded cage at home with her parents who were like fighting with each other, ignoring her. And this girl was like, I'm gonna read to drown out whatever the fuck this is and try and like have my own dream of not my reality, right? So as May's explaining this to her, I does something interesting. She changes, because remember, she's laying on May's lap because she's feeling things and wants May to touch her. And then she changes her position so she's sitting next to May, not laying on her. And she starts looking, and she like hunches over a little bit so that her eye line is below May's. So it's kind of like she's looking up at May and in a way using her body to put May on a pedestal. And then she holds May's hand. And she looks at May for a second without saying anything and smiles. And I think I processed what May said and is perhaps thinking, I can give you a new dream with my novel, right? Because May just said, books are my way to dream. And then I was like, well, I'm writing a novel. Maybe I can write you or a shared dream between us that we can make come true, right? So in other words, so I like this conversation because it's very like complimentary to your point. So in another way, like May gave I the courage to dream, and now I's like, I'm going to do the same for you through the mechanism that works for you. Like I's way of doing that is connecting with writing and like being a writer, and then May's like, I like to escape through books and find dreams that way. I was like, great, I'll write you one. How about that? Then when we get to the end of the novel that she writes, like, God damn it, Anyway. And if you think about it, this novel, she's very clearly dedicating to May. So I think she's trying to make May's dream kind of thing. So May obviously fully supports I's novel and reminds her that the ultimate reward is waiting for her. And like, I'm confused by this line because think about it. This scene happens after the scene on the couch earlier where she's like, I'll give you a reward. Pick your reward after you write your next chapter. And then that was the whole I's like, I want the kiss thing. Okay. And then she's like, so like, okay, with this line here, does that mean May changed the conditions of the deal? And now I gets the reward after completing the whole novel? Because that's what ends up happening.
I guess so, but I thought it would be like a little reward, like a kiss after each one, and then the ultimate reward is like when she finishes the book.
No, but that's not what happens. That's not what happens.
That's just wrong.
Did May change the deal off screen? Like May, the lawyer, went and changed the condition. They never pinky promised, to be fair. This is not a legally binding contract, and I think May knew that, which is why there's never a pinky promise between these two. May does not give those out willy-nilly because she's a lawyer, right?
Yes.
So
she knows what they mean.
And I's desperate and will take whatever she can get. Because, I mean, May learns how thirsty I was. And she's like, I can withhold this for a long time. And I will keep running back to me. Which is what ends up happening. So I was just like, God damn it, May. Like, poor I. Anyway. So this scene ends with them being really cute. And then I takes her leave to do some door dashing around town. And she's just like in a very good mood, riding around on her motorcycle. And just doing chores and just, being real happy about it. I think this little montage is basically showing that I is taking the poem that May read in the bathtub to heart. Like, this state of being shall pass because change is part of life. And now that I can dream again, she has hope for a future, which is something she hasn't had in a long time, as I said earlier. And because she has this hope, she's happier in the present. Like, the change hasn't happened yet. Like, change is happening in that she wrote the novel, published the novel, blah, blah, blah. But like, I is changing actively and she's happy about it. Like that, and that's a really good thing. So like, again, like when you're doing something long-term, like the long-term goal is make money off the novel when it's done. But in the short term, you see that like her quality of life is already better. And we didn't even achieve the thing at the end of you know what I mean? Like all those scenes before this were just like, wow, if I have to wait for the reward of being academically successful and getting a good job, like look at all the sacrificing. It's not worth it now, but it's like, It can be, depending on the situation. Like here, I's gonna have to sacrifice a lot to write the novel, but like it's changing her in a good way, and she's happy about it, and she's already feeling better. And like that's a short-term reward in the pursuit of a long-term reward. You know what I mean?
She also feels supported in this, where everyone was just like telling her she was stupid before. So
Yeah.
like all that hard work, being like, well, I'm not good enough anyway. Everyone keeps telling me that.
It's true. It just like goes to show you like the big impact that May made on her life was so monumental to I. All right, so I door dashes until nighttime basically. And before she heads home, she very kindly and without being asked stops to pick up Meemaw and favorite foods, which again, I's love language is act of service. Here she is doing it again. She does actions. She's like Big Nung. Big Nung was an acts of service person. She'd just be like, "Oh, here's some things that I bought you because I was thinking about you." That's what I does. I does the same thing. So when she arrives home, she finds like the shop's closed, but like Meemaw's still in the shop with one little light on, pouring over, I don't even know, documents or whatever. Lost in thought, essentially. And when she arrives home, she finds Meemaw sitting at this desk and she's got her hands on this envelope and her head's hung low. Like she looks real in her feels. And the contrast of emotions here is really heartbreaking because I is sunshine coming into the shop like, yay. And then Meemaw is like in the shadow. So like, this is not going to go well already. Something very off. In fact, Meemaw's so lost in the shadows that when I first comes in, she doesn't see her. She walks right past her and then goes into the house and is like, wait, where's Meemaw? Meemaw's usually here. And then has to track back towards the shop front. And then she's like, oh, what are you doing here by yourself in the quiet? Being all melancholy and shit. So obviously this is atypical. So I asks Meemaw, what's going on? What you doing? And then it cuts to Meemaw, who just looks real lost in thought. So much so that she does not look at I. And then we, at this point, transition into the adult point of view of this whole situation. And Meemaw gets to share her truth. And by doing so, we get the sacrificial adult's point of view that was missing from the scenes with Ben earlier. Which I love this. So Meemaw confesses that after their parents died, like I and parents, she decided to dedicate her life to making sure the twins were able to take care of themselves. And I forget, were they like 4 years old or something when she ended up taking custody of them? 8 years old? I forget how old they actually were.
I feel like there were 6.
Something like that. But
Between
they were
4 and 8.
Yeah, something like that. So like at this stage, I and are like mid-20s, late 20s. So she had to raise them for 20 fucking years by herself as an older adult who's already raised her own kids. Okay. So here she was, where she's like, I was gonna be able to like slow down and not carry burdens and yada yada. And now she gets 2 children who need 20 years of investment minimum. And Meemaw made the decision then to be their sole guardian and do whatever it took so that they could succeed, basically. And she very quickly realized with the 2 of them when they were younger, and then she expresses here to she's like, you're street smart. Like, you're a survivor. Like, you can throw I in any scenario and I will fucking survive, okay? That's what she's saying. She's like, but you put you at a standardized test and you're fucked, okay? And it's not like a bad thing. It's like everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, but she's like, look, you're a survivor, okay? But you're not a scholar, okay? And she's like, your sister is the opposite. Your sister will get eaten by wolves and then, but ace a test. You both, because they're twins. Twins are always archetypes, right? Where one twin has something the other twin doesn't have. Here's where they're opposites. But twin flames, right? You put I and together and they're unstoppable, but you separate them and they struggle independently, which is the tragedy of the story. Okay, so then Meemaw's explaining this to I. So then I sits down and tries to comfort Meemaw, but Meemaw keeps going. And the tears start hovering here because, like, who knows how long this woman has been bottling all this up? Who knows who her support system is? We've seen her talk with customers where she kind of can like vent a little bit, but like she's alone in this house with children and has nobody to talk to. Okay. So like this must have been bottled up for a very long time, the way she's feeling. Whereas I can go to her friends and vent. I could vent to if they were on speaking terms, but like Meemaw doesn't have that luxury because she's the only adult, quote unquote, in this house. And so Meemaw explains how hurt she is by basically what I did. And she tells I, she's like, I spent all these years feeling so horribly that basically I did all the things that Meemaw asked her to do, right? She's like, you did all the sacrifices, you got your degree, and you still couldn't succeed, even though we all sacrificed so that you could do these things. Because Meemaw is basically of the mindset of the generation that strongly, strongly, strongly believes that you go to college, you get a good job, which is not untrue. It's just that now more people go to college. And so because more people have degrees, they're less special. So then you have to do more than just that. But it's the starting place to get out of poverty, right? So that she was like, you did the things I thought would help you succeed, and you're still not succeeding. So Meemaw tells she's like, I spent all this time ruminating over this and just frustrated and flummoxed over why my granddaughter with a college degree is a DoorDash driver. After all the blood, sweat, and tears we all put into this to make sure you went to college. So then Meemaw took it upon herself to be like, well, why don't I do what privileged people do and call in a fucking favor? So she took I's degree and went to Paul's company, fiance, right, at the time, because they weren't married yet. They were fiancés. So she took the resume over there and she's like, basically like, hey, I have, you like right? I got another one. Can you help me employ this one? Essentially. And then I don't exactly know how this went down, but whoever took the resume, I guess scanned it or looked it up and was like, this isn't real. She doesn't actually have a degree from this. People actually check that, like, to be honest. Who's got time for that?
I don't. But then, like, spoiler alert, she has one. So, like, wouldn't that pop up? Like,
no,
I don't understand how you check.
Well, anyway. I guess it depends on what the school was. I don't know if she gave her the fake degree from the same school, or at the time she did that, maybe I didn't have the degree for real. It's unclear when this actually happened in the timeline of Pluto. So, yeah, not sure. But it seems like it happened today, which is why she's
that's
like,
I thought it happened today.
Which doesn't make sense either, because she is swearing off Paul's family because he drunk drive and almost killed And so at the beginning they're like, oh, Meemaw's not talking to them anymore because they covered up what happened. So
but that's another sacrifice that she's making. So
it would be going against her own principles. Yeah, maybe that would track.
Again, it's still this self-sacrifice for her grandchildren.
How low is Meemaw willing to go for I and
how low can she go?
We don't know. Pretty low. Okay. All right. So anyway, she tried to engage in nepotism, which is what privileged people do, and it didn't work out because apparently I didn't have an actual bachelor's degree, and what she gave Meemaw was a fake. So not only was this an incredibly embarrassing moment for Meemaw to find out her granddaughter didn't actually have a college degree from a stranger, while in the process of trying to help the granddaughter succeed. But she's like, I lied to me, like flat out lied to me, printed a fake certificate. That's a lot of effort to put into a lie. Like, I fucking lied to me for years, okay? And in this scene, credit to these actors, the betrayal is wafting off of Meemaw in this scene. Because, like, she's like, I did all this shit for you. You fucking lied to my face. Like, that hurts, okay? And I takes a moment to look at the certificate while she's kind of trying to collect her thoughts, because this is not how she never intended this to happen, right? She never intended for Meemaw to find out what she did, because at the end she ends up with a bachelor's degree. But like, so she's like, what does it matter? I got there. But Meemaw is starting to figure out what she actually did. And so I think that I is really upset that Meemaw's disappointed in her, like, so badly. Like, just like she feels betrayed by I, in this scene, and I's like, I never meant for you to find this out, basically.
I mean, she found out you didn't close the drawer all the way. It was the bad omen from the very beginning.
It's like the writers knew.
How did
I
they
don't
know?
know. How would they know? I and May don't know why they love each other at the end of the story. I don't get it.
The way this scene is set up visually looks like such a stereotypical cop show investigation with like the single lamp. Meemaw is in the shadows while the lamp is illuminating the certificate, like full on
On the desk.
once Meemaw slams it down, showing that this is evidence that just came to light. And I just it's like, explain this, and then she goes back into the shadows.
Yeah, it kind of looks like because they're sitting on opposite sides of the desk for people who can't see. Like, it's like they're in an interrogation situation where like Meemaw's the cop putting the evidence down and I is like the perpetrator looking at it on the opposite side of the desk. But yeah, it's just like that's how disappointed Meemaw is, and that's why she was lurking in the shadows, because she's like, who are you? Who are you? So I apologizes to Meemaw. She's like, I'm sorry. Because again, she never meant for her to figure this out. And Meemaw asks what the hell were you doing instead? Because this was years of I lying. Not just like you lied at one, like this was years where she had to lie to her straight to her face. And she's like, what the fuck were you actually doing then? Because she went on this limb to try and help her like multiple times. And then she's like, you fucking lied to me. Like, what the hell were you doing? So then we get sequential flashbacks of explaining what I did. And it takes us back to Ben's mom's, I guess, laundry job. I don't know if this is at her house or this is at another location. It's like generic location where there's clothes and they're basically like ironing and like doing all that stuff. And in the flashback, I is working for Ben's mom and is like, thanks for helping me. Because the way Ben was like, the mechanic I knew helped me out. I did the same thing. She's like, somebody I know working in the industry helped me get in the industry kind of thing. And I is in a university uniform while she's doing this, meaning she had to put this on to be like, bye, me, mom, going to school. And then she would literally go to work in that uniform. And Ben's mom, she's like, thank you again, surrogate mother, for helping me. And Ben's mom is like, I don't understand why you and my son decided to give up on the chance of white collar work, which postgraduate degree. White collar work is a more comfortable way of making money because it's usually sitting at a desk. You get paid more. It's not backbreaking labor. You guys gave that up to do manual labor, which not only takes a toll on your body, but it also pays less. She's like, you guys could have been sitting in a classroom. What the hell's wrong with you? Because I think this is mom projecting. She's like, if I had that option, I would literally kill somebody for it. And you guys just gave it up on a Tuesday. And I confesses that it wasn't a whimsical decision she made, and she didn't want to see her family struggle. And so to her, it made sense to invest in the quote smart one, and not her, the dumb one.
Okay, side note here. This has been multiple times now that I has called herself dumb in front of people, like to other people, and I just really need someone to tell her that she isn't. That isn't May, because May, of course, is like, you are the sun, the sky, you are my everything.
Yes.
But no one else is like, don't talk about yourself like that. You are so smart. Look at all these things you can do. Just give her hope. You know who would tell her that? Pang. If Pang told her, Pang would be like, shut the fuck up, you are smart. Pang was the one trying to encourage her to do the writing, I don't know. I feel like, when some people tell you stuff and you're like, I don't, you always think I'm great. So your opinion means less to me because you're just saying that. You know what I mean? You get in that mindset, you're you're just saying that. You don't mean that. I think that that's just a reflection of how
I views herself based on everything that we've seen, where she's like, if there's gonna, like, she's like, obviously Meemaw can't invest financially in both of us. If we have to pick a twin, it makes more sense to pick versus me. And then side note, I often wondered how I got this university uniform. Like, how'd she get this? Because she didn't go to university. So, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong if you've gone to school in Thailand. I don't know how easy it is to get a university uniform because they seem unique to the college you're going to, because you got to get like the seal, like the school seal, you got to get embroidered with your name on it. The styles seem to be different depending on what school you go to. So I do wonder if helped her with this, because it's revealed later that figured this. This is like learned about Ai's, course of action at some point. So I wonder if this is one of extra uniforms that she had embroidered with Ai's name on it instead of her own name. And then that way she gave it to Ai so I could keep this going so that Meemaw didn't find out. Like, I wonder if helped her with this. Or maybe Pang. Like, somebody had to have like helped her get this uniform.
That's plausible.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question. And then, like, why is Ben's mom not questioning why she's in a uniform? So I'm like, what did Ben's mom help her, like, to embroider it? And like,
maybe
to keep it going. It seems like she would be the person that I would say something to.
Yeah, I just always wondered how she got. Maybe they found it in the laundry. Like, who knows how she got that uniform? Somebody had to help her.
I could see that,
but like, she has to get it. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody helped her get this uniform. All right, so after we get that scene, we then transition back to the present, where Meemaw asked Ai, "Why did you do this?" And as we already know at this point, based on conversations that these two have had together and moments with Meemaw, that Meemaw knows Ai is a good kid. And she said it before, which is why I think she asks, "Why did you do this?" rather than simply like unleashing all of her rage by yelling at Ai. She asks her, "Tell me why." Because, like, remember with the laptop, she's like, you wouldn't just do this. You wouldn't just steal laptop unless you had a good reason. So I think that, like, that's why she's like, Ai, what's your reason? Because I know you don't just do things unless you have a good reason. And at this point, Ai starts bawling because, like, it could not have been easy for her to lie to her grandmother this whole time. Like, yeah, she was doing what she thought was a good thing, but, like, she still had to day-to-day lie to her grandmother's face in order to actually achieve the good thing she was trying to do, right? So, like, here's all of that coming out, right? And I think that Ai, like, she tries to, like, stop the crying, like, and she tries to minimize it. She's like, it's not a big deal, Meemaw, it's whatever. Like, I graduated now, so this is all a moot point. It doesn't even matter. And Ai is like, I can prove it. So she runs into her room and collects her actual bachelor's degree and then gives it to Meemaw. And we get a glimpse of it. And I can't read all of it, obviously, because I don't read Thai. So I'm sorry. But we get the translation that I majored in communication, which I find interesting that, like, subconsciously she did follow her dream of writing by doing that major, which helps her with the novel writing. And all Meemaw has to say is, like, you graduated this year. And then we get a boomer to millennial moment where Ai points out the job market is trash and having a degree doesn't hold the same weight it used to, which is like what I said earlier. And just like there's people out there with master's degrees and like PhDs that are door dashing because, like, it's rough out there, Meemaw. Not all of us inherit shops.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, in this economy, exactly. But that's one reason why I took the door dashing gig. The real reason I did it is because there's flexible hours and it gave her the opportunity to help Meemaw out a lot. And Meemaw, like, puts it together. She's like, that's why you were available to take me to the doctors. That's why you were available to do all these things, because you chose this job because of me. And that realization triggers Meemaw. And then she tells Ai, that was the fucking stupidest thing you've ever done. Like, I knew you were dumb. I was like, I knew you were dumb, but this is really fucking stupid, Ai, what you just did. Because by her own words, I just said other people choose door dashing, but Meemaw points out that, like, door dashing chose you, Ai, because you had no other option without a college degree. So you were forced into the service industry, which is like the social commentary they keep trying to bring up with these conversations. And I think Meemaw is projecting, right? Because she says you had no other choice, right? Like DoorDashing chose you. You had no other choice in this. I think this is Meemaw projecting her own life because it's very likely that Meemaw is not college educated. Who knows if she even was given the choice? And therefore, she was trapped in the service industry. Like, what else was she going to do? Like, she had to make money to support these kids. Like, she had to do this. She was also had no choice. And like what her career path ended up being. And I think Meemaw, on top of that, also probably felt like she had no choice when the parents died. And here's like custody of and I. I don't think she really had a choice in that. I think it was like
No.
this or like going into an orphanage. Like, so like she did it. So I think that a lot of Meemaw's life was like she didn't really have a choice in how she ended up here, but she did it, right? And then here we are again. We're here. We don't know how old Meemaw is, but she has to be past 60, like past the retirement age. And she's still working. And so I don't think she had a choice in this either because she's still supporting she's still supporting in a way. So like where was Meemaw's choice in any of her life, really? I feel like she didn't have a lot of choice and she's mad at because she's like, you had a choice and you chose not to do it. So basically here's a woman who lived her entire life with little choice and what happened to her, and here she is. And I think Meemaw was really motivated to work as hard as she did under the circumstances she was forced into so that the twins could have a life where they could choose and choose a better life, because Meemaw was like trapped in this one, really. Like she loves them, obviously, but like she didn't choose this. Why would she choose this?
No.
She's killing herself in her retirement years because who's going to take care of them? And that's why she's always like, can you please just figure out a way to support yourself? Because Meemaw can't stop until figures that out. Otherwise her mission's not complete. So she's upset, really. What this all boils down to is that Meemaw's upset that I chose to live the same life that she did. A life that's clearly taking a physical and mental toll on Meemaw. And she's like, you willingly chose this thing I was trapped into. Like, it feels like a betrayal after all the sacrifice she did for to just be like, nah. Like, that's how it feels to be Meemaw and be like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to turn into me.
I mean, it's really good to point out her viewpoint on that because it is easy to lose that when we're so focused on how I's feeling and like she's like, I'm doing this good thing, but what you're saying is true. Like Meemaw is very hurt by this. And the way because you said this, like it does feel wrong that I didn't go after her dream and go to university. But then again, at the same time, if Meemaw didn't take care of herself while I was gone, first of all, she'd never forgive herself. But second of all, there'd be no one there to help them keep going. So again, it's the catch-22 situation here.
There's no winning. That's the thing. There is no winning. There is just no winning in this situation. It's just you make choices and then there's consequences to your choices. Or Meemaw technically had a choice. She could have, again, been like, I'm not taking care of these kids. Like, she could have made that choice, but she didn't. So, like...
Well, yeah, it's the same thing, because right now, I don't think I thought she had a choice either. She's just doing what she thought she had to.
No, I definitely had a choice. The way Ben had a choice. Like, she's like, I can't keep going down this path. I need to choose a different path because of the toll it's taking on Meemaw. Like, that was a choice. She could have kept going. Meemaw's like, don't do it, just keep going. And then I's like, nah, I'm gonna do this because I can't in good conscience. Now that I'm woke and I understand what's happening, I can't unsee our situation. So she made a choice. That was a choice that she definitely made.
What I really mean is that Meemaw definitely had a lot more choices than she thinks. It's just out of duty and feeling like she didn't.
Yeah. But anyway, so speaking of that, I counters in this conversation and says she did choose this. She's like, I wasn't backed into a corner with the door dashing thing. I chose it because I explains like, Lily, you told me my whole life that I was dumb, and so I say be careful what you say around kids, because I was just like, why invest in me when I'm not the one that's going to succeed here? And so she's like, I gave up going to college to help you. And then so we could jointly invest in the one person who was likely to succeed, the smart one, so that could be our investment. Instead of you investing in two kids, you invest in one, the one that's most likely to actually do it. And then that way our money is not wasted in a way. And I is like bawling when she's explaining this to Meemaw. And really, again, like the whole point of this is she did this also, and she explains it in this conversation. She's very conscious of in all this decision. Like, and basically, without knowing it, the two of them were sacrificing for basically. And because I made the sacrifice, then the family had, quote, more luxury money to afford things like paying the mortgage and like buying medicine for Meemaw when her eyes were, I don't know, infected or whatever the hell was going on with her eyes. And then while I's kind of pointing all this out, because remember, I think part of Meemaw was very naively thinking the kids are not going to notice this, notice what's going on with our financial situation for a while. But I grew up and saw all of it and put it all together. And I don't think Meemaw realized I did that, because was in academic land, and I don't know that really put the shit together as much as I did, because I's the street smart one, so I is seeing all the signs that they're struggling. I don't know that saw it, to be honest, based on how they set the two of them up. And so here's I being like, I've noticed all of this shit the whole time, and Meemaw looks real defeated, and while I's doing this, she like refuses to look at I, because the thing is, like, to your point, Meemaw knows I is right. She knows that they were struggling so badly. This was not an easy hand this woman was dealt. Okay. But the thing is that, like, Meemaw refuses to believe that I's sacrifice was necessary, even though it probably was, because she loves I. And I think it really kills her to see I willingly step into struggling the same way she did, because I don't think Meemaw felt like she had much of a choice in it, but I chose her life. And I think that kills her more than anything. She's like, I failed because you're turning into me. The whole point was that you'd be better, not become me. So I think that feels like the biggest failure, is that I turned into her.
Yeah, and that was her one goal.
Yeah, because if you think about, like, how did Meemaw end up the custody of the kids? Because she loves them. It was all because of love, right? And here's I. Why did I end up in this situation? Because of love, right? What an irony. And so I think Meemaw really feels like a bad grandmother and a failure, because she wasn't able to provide I a way out of poverty. And I counters with, how could I be a good granddaughter if I did nothing while you worked so hard? And truly, this conversation between the two of them, it's like they're both looking into a mirror, okay? Because you had the foiling with Ben and his mom, and then you have these two, the ultimate foils, right? Because even the way it's set up, right? They're opposite the desk. You have Meemaw, who's the past, and then you have I on the opposite side, who's the present, right? Looking into, they're the same person essentially in this conversation, and it's just like past and present. And then the future is I turning into Meemaw, right? And the cycle is going to continue. So Meemaw's failure is that she couldn't stop the cycle of struggling to survive for I. Like, I is now trapped in that. And Meemaw calls this, quote, the price of my devotion. And she's upset that she's her sacrifices were for nothing. She's like, I spent all these years sacrificing for you, I, and worrying about you and trying to help you, and you threw it all away. You just threw my sacrifice away. What was I sacrificing for then? Like, and she just feels like a failure on that front, right? And perhaps I knew that's what she was doing and how Meemaw was going to feel about this when she made the decision, or like maybe she didn't. But either way, this scene feels like such like a literal tragedy. But the only hope for both of them is that their sacrifices will be worth it if succeeds, and then breaks the cycle. And I feel like when I says, she's like, is my sister too. And I feel like that perfectly encapsulates the end of the conversation. Isn't just your granddaughter, like because she's like, you're my granddaughter, so I have to look out for you. And then I's like, I'm her big sister. Like I also am responsible for her in a way. And like putting me in the shadows of our situation robs me of my big sister duties to help And so like, because we've seen over and over again how I takes that role very seriously when it comes to being big sister. And so that's what she's also trying to tell Meemaw. She's like, I'm also responsible for in a way. And she's all I have left too. So did you really expect me to not do anything?
At the end of the day, like, this was the situation that really did have to happen, like you said earlier, because there was no way for Meemaw to be able to continue supporting both of them through university and not having taken care of herself. And they're just sharing in that aspect of supporting so can be the one to get out. Like, at the end of the day, Meemaw's sacrifice wasn't for nothing. Her sacrifice still means something. It's just that half of her sacrifice is not exactly turning out the way that she wants it to be, but it's being supported and enhanced in a way through if that makes sense.
Yeah, she's just like, her sacrifice for ultimately was pointless. The sacrifice for paid off. I mean, the sacrifice for led to the conclusion of, my grandmother can't keep sacrificing for me. And then she like betrayed her and negated everything she did. But she helped her bolster the investment in These kids are investments when you think about it this way. Like, the kids are an investment. Like, if I invest in you and you get out, maybe you could support me one day, or like, then I don't have to financially take care of you anymore. And like, everybody will be better off. But like, here's trapped with Meemaw. And she's like, no, we're trapped now. You're trapped with me in this social tier. And it'll be worth it, I guess, if just gets out, because that's all we got. And now here's in a coma. And it's like, what was the point of all of it? Yeah, that's why everybody's upset.
Okay, so I put all their eggs in one basket while Meemaw was trying to diversify.
Correct. Right. Without telling Meemaw. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. Mm-hmm. That's what happened. So she's pissed off.
All right, put it that way. I get it, Meemaw. You were like, both of you succeed. No, let's just have one of you.
Also, what'd you do with the university money? Did you actually use it? Like, what did you do with that money? Anyway,
I thought
she probably scrolled.
Didn't she say that she got a scholarship so Meemaw wouldn't pay for anything?
Oh no! But when Meemaw was dividing up the tuition money, what happened?
Yeah, I know. I thought that's what I was thinking while we were filming today.
What'd you do?
I was like, did Meemaw like reuse the money?
I don't know. Well, no, because she thought she went to college. So I guess I took the money and paid off their bill. I don't know what you did with it. I don't know. Not sure what you did.
Anyway, I'm proud of both of them for finally being able to talk about how they are feeling and like the motivation behind the actions, because that's the big thing too, especially on I's part. Like, I needed to get this off her chest because Meemaw really needed to know how much that I was sacrificing herself for their family. So it would make sense to Meemaw, like, how she is behaving in life. And the saddest truth that I says during this is about her mom and dad being dead and that she can't afford to lose Meemaw too. And I think that this gets to Meemaw too, because it's the exact same situation that she's in, where she's scared to lose right now. And she's also worried about I having a better life. So like, it's kind of like, if she really steps back and thinking about it, she can relate to, like, oh, I'm so worried that Oom's gonna be gone from my life. I'd do anything for her right now. Where that is exactly how I was thinking. So hopefully there's that bridge there.
The thing too that's like this situation is it's just like the growing pain situation where Meemaw has been shouldering the burden of everything because she's the adult for a really, really long period of time. But I, as an adult right now, I's in her mid 20s. She's not a kid. And it's one of those things where Meemaw has to recognize that I, as an adult, the situation has changed. And as an adult, I made decisions, adult decisions, that she was seen as a kid and couldn't help with. So this is also the situation. This is also where Mima has to process the fact that like she's not alone really anymore. Like I made the choice to partner with her as an adult. Yeah, they didn't have a conversation because like she was barred from having the conversation with Mima because Mima always saw her as a little kid and she's like, I'm not a kid, I'm an adult. And I made this decision as an adult to help you, other adult, in our family kind of thing. And I think that once Mima has all of her feelings, she eventually processes and realizes that like, yeah, you are an adult and your only hope, I guess, get out of the coma. Okay. And then I love the end of this conversation where I tells Mima, is not your only granddaughter. And I think this little line is I's PTSD from being Plutoed for so long. As if she's kind of saying, like, don't forget to also love me. You know, I'm not just this little burden on a person. And Mima basically tells I, because you chose this path, it means my sacrifice to raise you, like the price of my devotion was for nothing. And like we already kind of said, in a way, like Mima, I robbed Mima of her purpose in a way. And that's that's something Mima has to cope with is because it's like, it's done. Like it's already done. I did the thing. It's been years. Like it's just Mima is coming to terms with this massive failure on her part. That's how she sees it. Which is also, like I said, I stepping into the role of an adult that you can rely on in a way. And so Mima has to like kind of figure that out. And so Mima is just openly sobbing because, like, again, this was pent up for a long time. Like, it's not just about I's betrayal. Like, this is just years of being weathered by their situation. And so she just leaves the room, and I is left in the office basically with the weight of everything and she collapses against the desk and is sobbing openly. And she has the bachelor's degree, like the real one, that she's holding, and it's on the floor next to her. And she just picks it up to look at it and then is just like drops it again.
And it's just like she's giving up in this moment. Like all the sacrifice just wasn't worth, like, was it worth it in general? Because it also shows like how much this has been weighing on her to like even get the certificate. But again, in this moment, it just feels pointless because now she's hurt the person that she was trying to help the whole time. And I don't know, it's just something about just watching her drop that certificate that she just worked so hard for in the background. It's heartbreaking. Also, poor I is always crying in the shadows in these scenes. The shadow of
It is the shadow of him. The thing about I though is like that Mima, like, I guess Mima's upset but like didn't fully appreciate in the moment is that like I still did it. Like I still got her degree though. Like it's not like she like fully gave up like Ben and just was like, I'm a mechanic now. Like I was like, this is temporary. She kind of had the mindset that May was trying to instill on her with the poem where she's like, this will change. Like I was working towards getting her degree the whole time. She just did a different path so that she could support Mima and by extension. So it's not that she fully gave up. She just did a different path and still got there. But the problem is like the job market sucks. And that's not I's fault. That's just like the economy, So I think eventually Meemaw is gonna like kind of has to ruminate over this when she's like processed her feelings and will see I in a different light because she didn't know, she's kept in the shadows of all of these things, right? And just focusing on the fact that did it. Did it. How do I get I successful too? Because did it. One down, two to
no,
go, or one to go.
what you
kind of thing.
said is completely true. I still did it.
I still did it.
And it took so much for her to be able to do that. That's showing that she still had that hope, that sense of
Right.
duty, that showing that like, oh, I do respect you, Meemaw. I will do what you want. I just have to do it this way so I can help you as well. And she does care about her own future.
Right.
By getting this certificate.
It's just the job market sucks, so it didn't pay off the way it paid
Yeah.
off for Okay, so after this, we cut over to May, who's reading I's story on AO3.
And maybe she got to the Unai. And she's like, oh, you girl. Anyway.
I like dumbass. She is. What a dumbass. Anyway.
Oh, the dumbass that I love.
Let's be honest. If May heard that, she would laugh. She'd be like, oh my God, I'm in love with an idiot. Okay.
I would love if May just had like a piece of paper that she was writing throughout like the show, just randomly. And it's just all the times that I breaks character. Because like after the 5th time, she's like, I should really just keep track of how awful she is at being a spy.
Just start calling her I, and I guarantee you I wouldn't even notice. Honestly, at some point, she'd just be like, that's right. She's so bad at this. Anyway,
the part of I's chapter that May is reading is just loaded with meaning. And the excerpt is, I believed in the theory of making room. We must release some distress in order to have room for happiness. Sacrifice is required to make room for success, but the room for truth after lies is filled with distress. And just like everything in this show, we once again have the double meaning of how I's situation with Meemaw reflects her relationship with May. There's a lot of foiling in this show. They really love it, and they do it very, very well.
It's so good.
So this excerpt directly relates to what just happened with I and Meemaw. And the sacrifice was there, so the happiness could be there later. And she sacrificed to get the success. But there was, after lying this long, it just hurt them so much more than if she would have just talked to Meemaw in the beginning. But this also goes back to the lies surrounding I's relationship with May, because at the back of May's mind reading this too, like she's lying to I because she knows who she is. And there's also the Ben thing too.
Yeah.
So now she's reading, but the room for truth after lies is filled with distrust. She's like, shit. There's so many lies here. What's gonna happen? And then also it goes true for I as well, because she is technically terribly lying to May about who she is.
Yeah, there's a lot of deception going on. It also reads for and just it's a good line for a lot of characters. But I think and all of that is true what you said, but I think this excerpt is also I's confession of what love means to her. So to her, love means sacrifice, which foreshadows May and I's relationship and helps contextualize to May why she decides to walk away from her at the end. Like, this is foreshadowing what I's about to do. She's going to sacrifice.
Yes.
That line. You've seen her sacrifice for the whole show. Episode 11's not surprising. She does the whole show.
Audience needs to know right now. Like, that line was telling us, like, there's going to be distress. We are telling you that now.
Well, obviously, what starts in deception can only end poorly. It's not going to be clean. We have to get past the deception. That's just how lies work. But this is I's confession of like what love means to her. And it's also I confessing that she's afraid to tell May the truth of who she is after lying for so long. Because to your point, May knows she's lying about who she is also. And May and I is saying with this, I'm afraid to tell you the truth about me. Hence but the room for truth after lies is filled with distress. Because May is waiting for I to tell her the truth. And I think this helps her understand why I hasn't done it yet, because I's afraid. That's what I's saying with this passage. And she's like, because she, again, went to her journal to support the novel. And so, like, this is about her feelings, right? And I think that hearing this motivates May to show I in more obvious ways that it's okay to confess she is a boon. Because May's going to get real obvious going forward and being like, do you remember when we were kids and we fucking met? Like, you know what I mean? She has to like lead I to be like, oh God, that was me. And then she's like, Jesus Christ, you had to show her photos. And it's like, you know what I mean? She gets more obvious with like, it's you. Can you just tell me? And I think it comes from this passage here where I's confessing she's scared, which, I mean, I feel like May kind of knew because that's why I has this flight or fight response. But May can never fully know what I is thinking. And this is I's thoughts in a poetic way, right? This is the euphony of being like, I'm afraid to tell you who I am because I'm afraid it's going to end badly. And so I think that was important for May to read between the lines here. The other thing that's interesting here is when May is like reading, the way they decide to show us May is really interesting. So like May is in the dark while we get like the scroll of the text of the novel across the screen. And like half of May's face is like in the dark. The other half is this very bright blue light, which I assume is the computer screen. It's just very blue. Like it's more, I don't know, brighter than a normal computer screen. So it's really weird. So I just wonder if this was kind of like a subtle show of like the duality of May, because at this point she's half existing in reality, which is the deception they've all built, and half in this dream while reading the story where like the love between her and I can be so simple, but it's not because of reality. And so she's like caught between these two worlds, right? And I think that's interesting the way they kind of like show that with the lighting.
That's a really good point. It's also just looks really contrasty and nice.
Yeah, that's
visually.
All right. Well, that was a lot. As you can tell, I have a lot of feelings about Meemaw and I and the cycle of poverty. And I think that because we spent so much time dissecting those two scenes, really, we are going to end our discussion here and pick it up with the rest of the next part of the episode when we come back. So that's all for now, folks. I have to sneeze. Excuse me.
Bless you.
All right, but before we sign off completely, we have to do our Taylor Swift songs. So I think the one that I found that fits really I in this episode is Antihero, because she feels like, again, Antihero is like, you don't root for them, but they succeed anyway. The way she feels like nobody's really rooting for her, like all these years, even though people were. And she's just like, I'm going to succeed despite you kind of thing. Hence her getting the degree despite it all. And I think it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. I think that's how I has felt. Like people see her as this problem, even when she tries her best. And kind of like in the song, like that chorus where like when Taylor sings it, she starts getting more resigned to be like, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. I think it's kind of Aya's trajectory where she's kind of just like, yeah, I'm not smart. I'm dumb. I'm not going to succeed. And I think that's part of what resigned her to like getting into the service industry. She's like, if I'm going to be a problem, I'll figure out a way to succeed on my own, I guess, and do my own thing and at least do my own choices. So I think Antihero fits how I felt a lot of this episode, especially like flashbacks and things like that.
Also with when Taylor is like very tired saying, it's me, I'm the problem. When I drops her certificate, just losing all the hope.
Yeah.
You got to get to the next part where she's like, yeah, I am the problem.
And then
I'm going to own it.
Yeah. I think that's Aya's trajectory. That's a great song.
My song is This Is Me Trying, because Meemaw and I are both trying to communicate in this episode, and this goes for the whole thing overall. But like they are trying to communicate, and has been trying, and now Meemaw sees that, much to her dismay.
Yeah, they're both trying to communicate. She's not great at it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Big Gay Energy Award.
That I always forget about. However, that's our name. So
It is our name.
Oh God, Big Gay Energy.
I just voluntarily putting her head in May's lap was really gay. And then being like, our love story isn't fiction, May, it's real. Like that. Big Gay Energy. That was really cute. When I turns on the charm without trying, that's when it works. That was just I being I, and May's like, you should write that down and put that in a novel. That would sell so many hearts right there. Like, and I was like, that's just for you, May. Big Gay Energy.
Just that whole scene with them being cheeky towards each other.
May being like, isn't the best to sleep when you actually don't dream? She's like, shut the fuck up. That was really funny. Yeah, that was cute. That's probably the only gay scene, because the rest of it was just I's bit tragic backstory.
Yeah, and pain.
So, by default.
Oh, you know what? The dog in the vest.
There you go. That dog went hard.
The vest went harder.
Yeah.
All right. If you made it this far in the episode, we want to know. Here's a word that we want you to use in a comment or review. I don't have a very good explanation for why this is today's word, but the word is lyrical. And I got that from like I's book, and how it's just like the words.
Euphony. We're going with the euphony.
Yeah, euphony. So yeah, lyrical. Have fun with that one.
All right. Well, thank you guys for making it this far. Can't wait to see what you do with the word lyrical. And we'll be back next time to continue the scene-by-scene breakdown of episode 6 of Pluto. And until then, hydrate for lesbian Jesus.
And gay it up all over the place.
Bye.
Bye.
And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all our other episodes right here on YouTube.
Please like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing super gay content.